and it's good. I mean, I'm very, very pleased to be going through that work. And the people that are in the group, there are 5 people total, including myself. Um, I think really like being in the aura of the sutras, of the Hindu literature, Bhagavad Gita. There's a certain, I don't know, feeling for being there. None of them have gotten deep into it like some of the stuff that I saw on the website. But one person and only one person have I felt comfortable with sharing EJ's material with. And this is, and so um, I gave her a copy of the Human Biological Machine as a Transformational Apparatus. And she's a good reader, good student, studies hard, has taken, teacher training and yoga training. And but this is what I'm interested in. This is utterly new to her, how you approach spiritual work. And so she's sophisticated, but this is her first dip into the world of fourth way, sleeping machine, 2 electrical bodies, the essential self, the machine, and she's on chapter 8.
Oh no, the
Oh
blue pill.
wow. Is that the chapter with the month thing, 30-day thing?
That no, I think that's 9. But she
Oh.
just finished Sheep and Sleep, and she says that she got very confused with that. And so I wrote her a big long email about it. And now the 8 is aims. What is your aim? Which is fascinating. So anyway, I just find it's the first time I've done something like this, outside of our community, like.
Hmm.
So I'm just finding it interesting to see. I'll let you guys know how it goes.
One thing that I found really difficult is to talk about this work and the idea of work on self in the outside world.
Well, one of the things I've said to myself is that I should be able to talk to anybody about this material, whether they're studying, whether they're in the work, whether they're, you know, and yeah, of course, you can't dump the philosophy on anybody, but how, you can gently sit there and give them the concept of wonderment that this is.
But David, you know what? I have like a real good experience with this kind of thing, like sharing this kind of spiritual or work on self kind of practices with the friends of mine. So I have a very good childhood friend. We were very good friends since sixth grade. Okay. And after there was some breaks, like, and we met here in United States after say 25 years. And we never talk about that he is into the yogas, like, practices. I was in this, and all of a sudden we talked everything except the work on self. Okay. And then one day accidentally I something talked about, like, that what we call like astral travel. And he caught that word. He's like, say it again. And I'm like, okay, this was astral travel I was talking about. And then we strike together after almost 30 years of friendship, that we are like living something similar. And then I introduce him to EJ's material, and he is like studying with so much interest and all that. I'm like, wow. I don't know what I was doing.
So-
Like until now, I did not share anything about all this work on self with him.
Well, it's a funny thing about that. I mean, for me, trust your instinct and your sensing mechanism. When it's the appropriate time for something to come out, then it comes out, you know. And that was the appropriate time for you and your childhood friend.
Yeah, could be. We are just like we call in our language nimit, like that they make us like a medium to give that to somebody, like
Yes. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Wow.
All right, where are we?
Nikhil,
Attention sensor.
Oh, okay, let's do that. All right, begin. And break. Let me know if you guys can see my screen here.
hmm
Okay, I don't know where I'm at. I was just going through the chapter again. Oh, okay. Anyone has anything they want to say or start with?
I'm just wondering if you read all of this.
Yeah, we read this chapter last week.
Okay, so we want to start from the beginning.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I mean, we read this chapter last week. Uh, this chapter was a little bit different from the previous chapters
Hmm.
when it comes to like the practical aspect of it. It was more about observation than doing any particular exercise. That
There's no
that
exercise in this one.
I mean, there is. It does talk about the stop and lights, camera, action exercise
That's
in this
this one?
chapter. Hmm. I think at the end of the end of this chapter.
Yes.
I thought that was the last chapter.
Yes.
Are we in chapter 4?
Hmm.
Yes.
I think
Here on page 59, it talks about cut.
oh yeah, okay, here we go.
So I think this exercise is about uh, doing the action that you caught yourself doing a few minutes ago, but voluntarily.
I say we go for the fifth chamber. Chamber, no, the chapter, sorry.
The fifth chapter?
Yes, work wish. Because we did two times this fourth chamber chapter.
Okay, here we go. If any one of you guys
I can
wants
start.
to start.
Ah, yes. Chapter 5, work wish. If you scroll a bit for a little more, that's it. Chapter 5, work wish. We can begin to unify ourselves by creating a special centrum of gravity called our work wish. In the ordinary, unevolved human biological machine, because its sense of itself is a vague concatenation of all its isolated fragmentary identities, there is no unity which always feels the same about every issue. Sometimes we feel one way about something, and the very next moment we feel entirely different about it. Our lack of unity produces in us a corresponding lack of will. In mechanical man, nothing provides a permanent centrum of gravity for unity. We can make the beginning of unity by creating in ourselves a special temporary centrum of gravity which we can call our work wish.
Hmm.
A work wish is an artificial aim which has become, of course, only temporarily more important than anything else in life. at least until it has satisfied our purpose, which is the early development of unity and will. For the purpose of this experiment, it is necessary that we learn to do everything only in relation to this special artificial work wish. And I pass.
If we were to continue life in the ordinary way, all our conflicting inner impulses would eventually neutralize each other into apathy or some vague monomaniacal compulsion until finally, under the dreadful spell of senile psychosis, we would drift helplessly and aimlessly toward the quick brown fox of ordinary death like lazy dogs. We survive only so long as we have the ability to wish. The continued survival of our wishing has the unique property of allowing us to complete our work, but for this aim to have any real effect, whatever wish we have formulated must be greater than and have real existence beyond our own short and insignificant lives. Ordinary desires are much more smaller than ourselves, so we must discover something which is greater. Unfortunately, the majority of our understanding is limited to what is smaller than ourselves. If we could see the personality of the machine dissected into its primary component parts, we would see a complex inner disorganization of many fragmentary identities, each with its own power, thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and in particular, its own manifestations. Pass.
Each of these fragmentary identities is convinced that it is able to act independently and has complete authority over the biological machine. And they are all convinced of their unique right to call themselves I when referring to the overall identity of the human biological machine. In this complex disorganization of parts, unity can only come as a result of a serious effort over a long period of time to blend its parts into one balanced whole. In mechanical life, such blending can never happen just by accident. Only by intentional inner alchemy can we force such a blending of these isolated fragments of the machine to occur, which in turn produces a machine able to function in the work. Without unity, the machine would soon wander into distractions, making our continued work in the work unreliable and eventually impossible. To begin the inner alchemical process, we must start with an imaginary aim which we hope, by repetition over a long period of time, will someday become real. This can bring no result if we try it just once or twice. We must understand exactly what it is that we are trying to do. Okay, pass.
Knowledge and understanding, data and experience, each hand washes the other. Only with a clear idea of our aim can a change be made by imaginary beginning efforts. An imaginary effort can become a real effort only drop by drop, as in any distillation process. Before this experiment, and before any experiment from now on, we should always remember to wish that our efforts be for the benefit of all beings everywhere, to make a wish of greater force than just wishing for ourselves. The effectiveness of our wish depends on whether we are able to collect the force of necessity. This wishing for all, made inside ourselves, can connect us someday with the mystical body of Christ, which always exists outside time itself throughout all ages, including long before the man called Jesus lived and died. The sly man may or may not have this or that attainment, but one thing is certain: by himself, because he has attained impartiality even toward his own aims, he has no necessity of his own. Yet at the same time, he may have a soul which suffers unutterably each additional day he is forced to spend in exile. The sly man is forced to become a teacher. He is also a thief, forced by destiny to help himself by helping others. But to whom can he turn? Everyone of his own gradation is in the same boat. He must seek help elsewhere through his own efforts and labors. And I pass.
Can we pause a bit there?
Yes, please.
The sly man is forced to become a teacher. He is also a thief. How would you reconcile that concept?
What does the sly man mean?
No. What
Well, he's
is?
asking, what is a sly man?
Yes.
Yes, but is also to become a teacher. He's also a thief. What is he stealing? What from whom he is stealing? That is what I'm.
So the sly man, let's define the word sly man, okay? That
Yes.
would be someone that is trying to figure out some way to get to his goal. And he knows he can't necessarily get to his goal directly. So he has to be subtle or sly about it. Like a trickster, maybe. It's like, how do I get there? And everybody says, well, just go through the front door. And the sly man says, well, I know they'll never let me in, but I can go around here, up those stairs, towards the back, and then come back down. Bhavani.
Yeah. No, I was just saying something like sneaky, you have to be sneaky about it.
It has that kind of coloring to it. That term sly man is a little sneaky. So the sly man is so the sly man may or may not have this or that attainment, but one thing is certain: by himself, because he has changed impartiality even towards his own aims. Did you get that?
Hmm.
Let's say the sly man.
This is such a high phase of humanity he's talking about. Like, you
It
feel
is.
like it's so up there to attain impartiality. Like, that itself is so, to be that is so amazing in itself.
So, what would be an example? We're getting ahead of ourselves here, but what would be an example of a his toward his own aim?
Uh, his own work on self, his own path.
Too general, too general.
I remember in HPM it talked
Ah,
about you going to a school and having an initial aim, and uh, you either achieve that aim and leave the school, or you uh, morph that aim into, I remember something like that.
what's just give me an aim. Let's say you want to be a great baseball player, right? Or win an Academy Award, or play on the piano on at the stage of Carnegie Hall. Those are aims, right?
Yeah. So you help others achieve that. I think that is the way for you to achieve it.
But he's not saying that here. He's saying, what is an aim? Toward his own aims. Do you think you have an aim right now? Anybody?
To be free, right? Freedom.
Okay, so he's saying, Nishant is saying his aim is to be free. Okay, and let's just pretend for a minute that we'll use this Salka as an example. Nishant says, I want to be free, but he knows he's impartial about his own machine and his own skill set. And he goes, I don't know how to do this. I know that's my aim, but how can I get there with the tools and the limited tools I have? Right?
And time, limited time.
And now for him, he's now telling us he has limited time. He doesn't have time. He doesn't have the tools. So what would the slime man say? What would the slime man do? Remember, impartiality even toward his own aims.
Reminded me of my time when I had an aim. Like right now, I just realized a couple of weeks ago that I have lost my aim. I just don't know what my aim is anymore.
Okay. That's that's a temporary aim. By the way, I mean it's easy to say the negative, I don't know what my aim is, but the other side of that is there's a yearning in you, like in the fifth line of the prayer absolute, with yearning, my presence wishes to comfort thee. So there's something in you yearning toward something that in your brain you call aim. Okay. You know it's there. You can't even define it right now.
I mean, I could recall to the point because when I was in the ashram, I had an aim that, by the age of like 30, I wanted to get enlightened, So I was like day and night, I was working towards it. So it didn't matter what I did, but the aim was to just be that. So I
Okay.
remember that this impartiality that he's talking about, I realized that a bit of it was in there, because when I was doing the bakery, like I remember that my only purpose was to serve the ashram. It didn't matter how I did it. It didn't matter.
That's an aim. That's an aim.
Yeah, so I
So
realized that, that was one of the examples I thought of,
how many years before you're 30 years of age?
Hmm?
You said you want to become enlightened by the time you were 30. I was wondering how many more years before you're 30.
I didn't get that.
He's asking, how old are you now?
Oh, it's
No,
I,
no,
yeah,
that's not what he is asking.
I reached my 40s. So that was 10 years ago. Like, but what I wanted, like, I was given that opportunity. But anyhow, the thing was that it just struck me that there was there when you put in your heart and soul.
Absolutely. You can feel the love you have for it, right? The passion, the love that's there. Okay, so Nishant, is Nishant still here?
Yes.
So Nishant, what is the next, at the same time yet at the same time, he may have a soul which suffers unutterably. Each additional day is forced to spend in exile from freedom. Okay? Then read the next sentence, please.
The sly man is forced to become a teacher. He is also a thief, forced by destiny to help himself by helping others. But to whom can he turn?
Okay.
Every Hmm.
No, that's it. That's it. So the sly man trying to get to his own aim is in exile because he's not there, right? That's that's the assumption in that phraseology.
Mhm.
He's in exile from I want to be enlightened, I want to be free. So then EJ says that the sly man is therefore forced to become a teacher. He is also a thief.
I mean, this again reminds me of Bhagwan because he was forced to, because I remember that phase where he wanted to be just by himself, locked up in a room.
Yes.
And he didn't want to come out, but Ram Dulare Bapu forced him out, did all these rituals on him. And that must have been so painful to him to be out of his own self. Like, he knows who he is, and now he cannot be with his own inner self anymore. So now to just serve others. But what I loved about he's also a thief, what I understood is that thief because he has to steal from others, like from others learning. For example, the
Yeah.
mistake, say somebody else makes, like if they see an anger in somebody and you steal it from that person of what that energy is doing to them, and you notice it in you, like, where it affects you. So that's how I saw it.
What else does he get when he or us we're sitting in a room with many others and you are the teacher?
Can you repeat the question?
What do you get when you are the teacher from those around you? You learn some things, you see how their machines work, but what else do you get?
understanding,
The what?
you
You
get
feel,
more.
yes, sir. I think the point here that David is in the Aristotelic way is putting the questions. I think the teacher is also feeding on the necessity of
There it
students.
is. I mean, so when you come, you're in that position and you've created the environment of other students there, you can participate in their necessity, the beauty of them wanting to learn. And so, in a sense, you could call it you're stealing that. But that's just
Oh, David, you are terrible, David. Yes, yes, yes.
No. I have another interpretation of this. Rajan often says that, you have to steal from nature. So it's nature's plan to keep you asleep, right? And you
Yes.
have to
Hmm.
find these sly ways to capture that energy, steal that energy of attention back from the moon and use it for your work.
That's
Course.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So it's certainly given me, I know we're not going to finish this chapter all tonight, but it's given me a great idea for the next few weeks here. So who, we only have 10 or 15 minutes, I guess. So who's going to teach the next class?
Teach.
Yeah, right here. The Sly Man is forced to become a teacher.
Hmm.
Uh, I think your camera's off, but were you raising your hand, Alka?
I'm just
I-
laughing.
Oh,
I'm just
I thought you were, notice me.
laughing.
Well, let's okay. Well, if you want to be the teacher next week, it's, it's an interesting concept because even saying it kind of makes us a little uncomfortable, doesn't it? Just a little teeny bit. But
Yeah.
why don't you be the teacher next week, okay? And we have to finish this book, right? This chapter, right, Nikhil?
We don't have to.
But we're roughly like exactly halfway through the chapter, a little bit more. And if you look at this is not going to make you very happy, Alka, as the teacher. Go down about 4 paragraphs. Right there, right there. Read that first full paragraph.
The sly man is forced to become an expert in providing for others a genuine work wish, particularly towards just that aim for which he is working at the moment.
There you go. Yeah. That'll do it.
Okay, I can do it.
There you go. Boom. I can't wait to come next week. I hope I can remember.
Because I am already an expert in trying to work for the aim and have been failing. So if you fail too many times, you know what are the possible loopholes and you can teach people how to avoid them.
Well, we look forward to being led by you next week. And we'll just start on that same paragraph. The Sly Man is forced to become a teacher, and then read the next 3 pages. And just sit in the space, okay? And I know it's a little bit funny, but sit in the space that's on the previous page where he's saying that the Sly Man is forced to become a teacher. That is not an ego position, by the way. It's a utility position. It's a position of utility. You, it's, does anybody here play racquetball? Did you ever hear of
No.
Like,
racquetball?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. When I was younger, and I would play racquetball very early in the morning before I'd go to put my suit on to become a CPA. And I got pretty good, but then when I'd enter the tournaments, right? They have them on it goes like all day long for 2 days. I always put myself in a class just above where I thought I really was. So I was playing against players who were, instead I was like a C or a D player, So I'd be playing like B players. Very good. I knew I would lose, but boy, did I learn,
Mm.
beat up by them in 20, 30 minutes, you know. So you put yourself in a position, there's a phraseology somewhere in all of this stuff where EJ says, how can you put yourself in a position such that your transformation is a necessity to the work? How do you like that one? So,
Yeah,
isn't that something? So, stand in the position you are the teacher, and you're forced by destiny to help by helping others. You do it by helping others.
Just keep bugging others. Like just keep bugging others.
However you're going to do it, that'll be your signature.
It will
Okay.
be the necessity for the
Yeah.
work of the debug.
So as we go by chapter, and each person gets assigned to be the teacher, hint, hint, it is practical work on self, right?
I like that idea.
And, we'll see what happens. But if you sit in that position, you really focus yourself being in the position. What are the vibratory sensations that come through you? It's interesting.
Yeah.
We didn't get very far,
No,
Bernie.
but no. Yes.
So I want to share in relation to the teaching what EJ has mentioned. Like I have experience because I was lecturer for 6 years in undergrad college. And what I experienced is before going to lecture, right? You study the whole like almost 3-4 hours the night before. You are preparing. So you have to be like, an expert because students can ask anything from whatever like, the subject matter is. So yeah, you have to get acquainted with and trying to be expert on everything because students feels like, oh, teacher means they need to know everything. They should be expert on the subject. Second thing I experienced is like, even I don't know, but my fellow classmates always felt that I was a good teacher, even though I was their classmate. So I would be taking classes after college classes will be over. And what I experienced throughout my undergrad and masters that I will become more expert after teaching them the subject matter I was teaching them. Even though the same thing we studied, but I will still be having something additional after I will be sitting with them, teaching them what we studied in the class. So first you have to be expert, and then later you get something out of that, teaching also. So you get richer in that thing.
So beautiful what you said, Swati. Because I
Yeah.
remember teaching the kindergarten, and
Yeah.
for the first time, I didn't realize why a certain word is that. Like just because there's an E in the end, that becomes, like say, fat becomes fate. So it becomes a capital A. And I did not even know that, but while teaching them, I realized that when a vowel comes in the end, the capital becomes like just the smallest things, which you don't even realize, even when you're teaching kids who are like 5-year-olds. So, yeah.
Read the next paragraph, somebody.
He can find many who have necessity, but who have not the means or the doctrine. He can find a way to entangle them in his sphere of influence, so as to force destiny to provide a means for his pupils, and at the same time provide him with the necessary understanding to continue his work. He must already possess knowledge.
Wow.
There you go.
It's already possessed now.
Sometimes I have to give talks on the accounting theory or accounting, even to bookkeepers. who I know, a great deal more than they do, but when you accept that position, you put yourself in a position where you can learn in a different manner. You can learn in a different manner. And because you can imagine more questions than anybody sitting there knows at the moment. I like that part too.
And beauty of teaching is your understanding gets like deeper after like every time you same topic. If you study 3 times, or say I was teaching advanced marketing management for I think continuously 3 years. Every time I teach that after lecture, I feel that something got added to my understanding and the knowledge, even though the same topic, same book, same author, still you get something additional. So that is the beauty of teaching, in my experience, even the
Mhm.
academics wise, but this is work on self, so definitely we'll be having.
Nick,
Mm.
can
Yeah.
you scroll a bit before? Because there's a concept that I think we missed it. It's very important. A little more, please.
Up.
Yes. A little more. Well, I say in Spanish and I translate it as we can. It says knowledge and comprehension,
Here.
data
Knowledge
and
and
experience. A hand washes the other. That is what we have been somehow talking here.
You bet.
Knowledge and data and
Yeah.
Mhm. I was before coming to US, I taught kids robotics, and there was a lot of repetition that went on when it came to teaching. So I just, I started noticing how every kid will try to focus on something that they understood and then just explore that, while some other kid will find something else interesting and try to approach it from the other angle. But both of them are trying to understand the same thing.
Sure.
What a night.
Well,
Thank
well,
you,
next
Bernie, for
next
getting.
week I look forward to having a class with Alka
Yes.
and see what work wish she can give us. Or Alka is forced to give us a work wish.
yeah. Yeah.
So let me just take a couple more minutes here. So in chapter 8 of HBM, it's called, can you read that? Is it
Yeah,
back?
yes, inner aims. Yes, chapter 8, inner aims.
So you might have to read chapter 8 if you're going to teach us about work with.
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Also, I have another question. Nikhil just mentioned about, giving a work wish to others. I think work wish is extremely subjective to individual journey, and my
Yeah,
work wish might already have been attained by you. So I can just give you an example uh, of how I'm dealing with my work wish, or what is the
yeah.
best way of deal with my work wish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go for it.
That sounds
Or do you
good.
want to, are
Yeah,
you saying this is something you want to do next week or now?
yeah.
No. Nikhil mentioned that I'll be giving them a work wish. I don't think I can give anyone any wish. The work wish has to
No.
come from the soul's essence or the whatever. But I can give an example of my work wish, and it's
Correct.
journey.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
She's
Helping-
defining the scope of next class.
Yeah,
Already.
yeah.
Okay.
First, so that I can be
She's
focused on my
setting
lesson plan.
expectations.
The best you can do, I think, in the whole area of aim and wish is to help others uncover, or how do you even begin to approach such a problem? You can, but how do you do it?
This sounds like a material for a book.
Or a film.
Or a documentary.
You know,
All
like
right.
Reverend Ike in LA in the 70s, you know, he says, I want my I want my treasures in heaven now. And you know, he says, oh, he wanted a Cadillac and a big house. He was real clear.
At least he knew what he wanted.
That's right. I love that, you know, super clarity. I want my treasures in heaven today.
Yes. But David, the one thing, it's an obstruction, because even wanting enlightenment, is in the Buddhist line. No, wanting is always
Right.
unfulfilled.
But I guess that sets an aim in a way, which I thought it was very necessary looking back. So I think
Yes.
it kind of sets what you want to achieve, right? Like it's an aim. So even if it's a wanting, it's a higher wanting. It's not, it's not like
Yeah.
a wanting of just, I want a house or I want this, but to have inner knowing. And even if that is a wanting, like that will make you strive somewhere closer to yourself, So I think that is important.
It's catching, I would say. It's catching. I understand what you mean, but it's also, I think, we should a space for that possibility. The phrase, I recall it many times. If your own vice is the search of virtue, recognize it. It's a paradox. At least I see it that way.
I see you too, what you're saying.
Did we do HPM in this class?
Yeah.
We did? But we
Yes.
didn't do chapter 8 though, right?
I was just thinking about that. How is it? I don't-
Well, we are doing it next week. So
Oh man. It's a lovely thing to stand within what I call to stand in the garden of wonderment and to be okay to not know and be delighted by it.
Mm.
It's just a delightful moment. So let's see what we don't learn by next week, okay?
all right. See you guys next Monday.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.